morning. How is everybody? Good? Everybody doing all right? Okay. This week we are finishing up the sections on priority, and the class on Friday should hopefully stay on track with the assignments. Today we're going to finish up the section on simple disputes and then purchase money disputes. I have in my notes that we got through problem 67, and so we needed to start with problem 68. Everybody on board with that? Before we did that, I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page with just make sure we remember that we have value, rights, agreement, and then perfection, which is a method of perfection. And if you look at starting on 9.308 and the following, you have, this is 9.308 to 9.316. Okay. To be a perfected secured party, you need to have attachment, 9203B, and you need perfection. Okay? So you got to do all those things. If you manage to do all these things, then we decide priority. And here we're looking at starting on 9.317. And for today, we're going up through 9.324. Okay? So that's the way you're going to do the analysis. If I tell you somebody's a perfected secured party, you don't have to do this analysis, okay? So then I'm just worried about this, priority balance. If I don't say that somebody's perfected, then you would have to do all of this first before moving on to the question of priority. All right? So one of the things that I want to just, before we move on, we talked about it at the end of class. So that's the problem 67. So problem D. In problem D, we had on 9/25, First National Bank filed, right? Then on 10/2, Second National Bank became perfected. They had all of this, right? The four things over here. And then on, it is November 10th, FNB becomes a perfected secured party, right? Signed security agreement. But it's not until this time that they have any of this. They had done this though, right? What was their method of perfection? They filed a financing statement. The problem in D is they didn't have authority to file the financing statement on the day they filed the financing statement. Does it matter? And the answer is it does not. And if we look at 509, which is the section about authorization for filing a financing statement, we see that we have the possibility of ipso facto perfection. And if we look at it's 322, comment, hope I'm not wrong on this. No. So if you look at comment 4 to 322, it says So 1, 2, 3, third paragraph towards the end. For example, the unauthorized filing of an otherwise sufficient initial financing statement becomes authorized and the financing statement becomes effective upon the debtor's post-filing authorization or ratification of the filing. So what we see here is that under 9322, normally, 9322A, first to file or perfect, right? The problem is, was it authorized? If it's not authorized, if the party's not entitled to file a financing statement, the financing statement is a nullity. It has no effect legally. So how does it become authorized? By executing the security agreement. And that's even though, so it's ipso facto, which means the signing of the security agreement is the authorization, and it's retroactive. Okay? I just wanted to make sure, because we did that at the end of class, and I got worried that maybe this was lost. 9322A1, first to file or perfect.
So that's talking about any proceeding that will come after November 10. But if it came in between 10-2 and 11-10, then the SNB would win, right?
Okay. Before I answer your question, is everybody cool with this?
What does PSP mean? I'm sorry.
Perfected secured party.
Oh, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. That was just,
I'm sorry.
it was getting, trying to be quick.
Yeah.
Everybody good with this diagram? This is your hypo. They file a financing statement, but they have nothing else.
Yeah.
Are they a secured party?
So they.
No.
So there's no battle.
So they.
The only perfected secured party is SNB. Right. That's why I'm trying to emphasize, you have to have all four things before we have perfection, before we have a secured party who is a perfected secured party. If you don't have that, doesn't matter. There's no priority battle. The interesting question is, what if, now, the other battle we have talked about. So we have attachment, right? No act of attachment occurs until here. The debtor files bankruptcy before that.
That's what I was wondering.
So this is 9317 A to A or B. Okay. Can First National Bank beat the bankruptcy filing? Let's, I don't like bankruptcy because that's not good. Let's just say lien creditor. A lien creditor comes in. Can First National Bank beat the lien creditor under 9317A? The answer is no. Because under A, remember, you needed either to be perfected first, A2A, or filed plus did something else, A2B. And they didn't do anything until after lien creditor wins. Different rule, different outcome if the competing party is a lien creditor. You can't go back. All right? All right. Before we move on to the stuff for today, any questions about that? Okay. Great question. Problem 68. All right. Let's see. I had talked to you guys a lot over the last few weeks, so I promised I would come, so I'm gonna start here in the middle. So, Anita, why don't we talk about, problem 68?
Okay, I said that the no collateral may secure future as well as past or present advances if the security agreement so provides. So they were, so the question was if the future advancers clause had not been in the original security agreement.
Oh, let's stop before you get there. So,
Sorry.
the first part is, do they need to do anything else? Right, they've got a file financing statement, they got a security agreement, and that security agreement has a future advances
Yeah.
clause. So, what section of the statute talks about future advances? I just want to make sure we're working off of the language of the statute. Take a look at 204C. Okay? Is it legal for a secured party to have a future advance clause?
Yep.
Yes. A security agreement can cover future advances. Great. That's the simple part of this. So what's the priority date of an advance made after the date of perfection? How did they perfect?
They, says determining priority of a perfected security interest perfection of the security interest dates from the time of the advances made to the extent that the security interest secures the advance, that is the security interest perfected when it attaches or temporarily. So like when they give the advance, the security interest is perfected.
Okay, it's perfected as of the time they give the advance, because
Yeah.
until they give the advance, they haven't given the value.
That's right.
Okay, what's their date of priority? How did they perfect?
They had an old financing statement, but they didn't file a new one when they gave the new advance.
And that is the essence of this question. Do you have to file new financing statements for future advances and future loans? And what's the answer to that question?
So I wrote that if the future advances clause had not been in the security agreements, or then the financing statement would not protect the next loan that East River took from the creditor. So
Okay, so where is the so where would the future advances clause be?
it should be located in the security agreement.
It's in the security agreement. So the first question is, does the security agreement have a future advance clause? If it doesn't, does an advance made in the future get covered by that security agreement?
Yes. Wait, no, if it doesn't, no. But if it does, yes, yeah.
So we go back here. Does the security interest attach to an advance that's not covered by a security agreement? 9203, right? You have to have a security agreement in order to have a security interest. The security interest covers exactly what the security agreement describes. If it says the security agreement covers a loan for $10,000 and then the bank lends $5,000 more, does that security agreement cover that new $5,000? If you have an existing security agreement that says it covers an existing $10,000 loan, and then the bank lends $5,000 more, does the security agreement cover that new $5,000 loan? No. It says so. It says only $10,000. If it has a future advance clause, it says it covers the $10,000 and any advance we make in the future, does it cover the $5,000?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Great. That's the first part of this. What's the priority date of that future advance? You already told us.
It's when when the attachment occurs.
No. What's the priority date? Not when is it perfected. What is the priority date?
When they filed the first financing statement,
Do they need a new financing statement?
I would say yes for the new advances. Or maybe not.
Well, how do you determine priority? If we're talking about the priority date of a financing statement, what is the priority date of a financing statement?
When it's perfected, so like when
No,
that,
what is the priority date?
When it's filed.
When it's filed, 9/3/22A1. Right? The date of filing is the date you have perfection, the date of priority. So two different concepts, when you're perfected and when you have priority. What's the priority date of a security interest, of a loan covered by a security agreement? The date of filing, right? If they file, the date they file is the date of priority. Does that make sense?
Yes.
In this hypo?
Yes.
The security agreement has a future advance clause. Does the security agreement cover the future advance?
It does.
Yes. 9204, right? 9204C. What's the date of priority of that advance? The date of filing or perfection, whichever is earlier. When is it perfected? When the advance is made. But what's its priority? The date of filing. Okay? The earliest date possible. The first date, first filing. Yes?
Is there a limit on how far back that can reach?
Yes.
Without me looking it up, if you might.
No, I'm not going to answer that question. You all know the answer to that question. What's the earliest? How long does a financing statement last for?
5 years.
Unless you continue it. So as long as it will be as good as the date of the existing financing statement. The date of filing of the financing statement, so long as it's still effective. What happens if it's no longer effective? Okay, and it becomes unperfected. And as against another secured party, what happens to a filed financing statement if it lapses against a secured party? What happens?
Yeah.
You lose priority, right? It's as if you were never perfected. Now, as against the lien creditor, not different rule, right? As long as you were perfected at the time that the advance was made, then you're perfected. Doesn't matter, you become unperfected. The retroactive unperfection only applies against the other secured parties, other purchasers. Remember that? Okay. Second half of this question.
That was if the future advance clause had not been in the original security agreement, does that affect our answer? And I would say yes.
So how do you solve that?
So in order for the financing statement to have a security interest and have priority over the security interest in the collateral, the day that it's filed, we said that there needs to be the future advances clause in the security agreement. If that's not in the security agreement, then that financing statement would not protect that security interest.
So how would you make it protected?
You'd have to file a new financing statement with.
Do you have to file a new financing statement? That's what this question is asking. If you don't have a security agreement at the time you want to make the new loan, but you have a filed financing statement, do you have to refile?
I would say yes.
Okay, why? What's the priority date of, so can you pre-file?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the priority date of a security interest when you've pre-filed?
The date that you pre-file?
Okay, so now we don't have an existing security agreement that covers the new loan.
Right.
What if you get a new security agreement? What's the priority date of the new security agreement?
It's the date you pre-file. Yeah.
So how do we solve the problem of a loan that is not covered by an existing security agreement?
Could you somehow put a clause in the first financing statement?
So you need a clause in the first financing statement. Did we talk anything? Does the financing statement reference any loans whatsoever? It has the name of the debtor, the name of the secured party, and a description of the collateral. That's all it has to be effective. So how do you solve the problem of we have an existing loan with no future advance clauses? So we want to make a new loan and we want it to be perfected. How are you going to be perfected? The existing security agreement does not cover future advances. That's the second half of this question.
Yes.
How do we get a security interest in the new loan? What do you need?
A new agreement.
You need a new agreement. What's the priority date of the new agreement?
The original filing.
the date that you pre-filed your financing statement.
So, do we need to file a new financing statement?
No?
No!
So financing statements act like a blanket?
Yes,
Oh, all right.
because financing statements do not refer to loans. Right? They're notice. They don't create the security interest. They don't make the security interest come into existence. They have nothing to do with that. They're notice filing. Chandy, I'll get both of you. Yeah.
So we have valid, everything's valid, but it's longer than 5 years since the first loan was made. Do we have to refile, or does because it's like a valid security, interest, protected secured party, whatever. Because we have all that, does it extend the life of the first financing statement, or am I just trying to?
What extends the life of a financing statement?
If you refile,
What do you have to file?
The continuance
And then when do you have to file the continuation statement?
after 5 years within the.
4 to 6 months.
After 4.5 years, but not later than 5 years.
Right.
so it's.
So it has nothing to do with the security agreement.
I'm saying, so we make the second one 6 years later. Can we not attach that to the first filing statement?
Okay. January 1st, First National Bank lends $10,000, gets a security agreement. So and they file a financing statement. They perfect by filing on January 1st. No future advance clause, right? No future advance. June 1st, First National Bank, $20,000 loan. Okay, they got a new security agreement covering that. What's the priority date of that new security agreement? The date they filed. What's the date they filed? January 1st. Did this security agreement exist at the time they filed the financing statement? What's the priority date of that security agreement? Filed financing statement. First to file or perfect. Date of filing is the date of perfection, 9308. Yes?
I said it very confusingly. If it was January 1st, 6 years later,
Okay, if it's 6 years later and you haven't filed a continuation statement, are you perfected?
No.
This is assuming that we're using the same collateral to the same two parties, correct? Only in that instance, because if they wanted additional collateral.
All right, so what collateral should we say the financing statement covers? Let's say it's equipment. Okay? And then we have a security agreement, it covers equipment. Okay? So the financing statement and the security agreement covers equipment. If the security agreement doesn't cover the same collateral as the security agreement, are you perfected? No.
Well,
Okay.
you said if the security agreement doesn't cover what?
If the security agreement and the financing statement don't cover the same collateral, are you perfected?
No.
No. Right? You have to have a filed financing statement that covers the security agreement, the collateral in the security agreement, right? So we get a new security agreement, it covers equipment. Yes?
Could they be perfected for the collateral that was in the pre-file? If it was different, like if they had added collateral, would they
So that's the after acquired property clause. Can you have an after acquired property clause? Which section of the statute? 9204C covers future advances. What covers after acquired property? Actually, I think it's A, isn't it? Yeah, 9204A. Can you have an after acquired property clause? If you don't have an after acquired property clause, does newly acquired collateral get covered by the security agreement? No, right? That's what an after acquired property clause is. You can extend the security agreement to cover newly acquired collateral. If it doesn't have that, then it only covers the collateral that is in existence, that in which the debtor has an interest at the time that you signed that agreement. So, you don't have an after acquired property clause. How do you solve that problem? You get a new security agreement. You can have an unlimited number of security agreements covered by the same financing statement.
So in that situation, say the second loan, the
Yeah.
$1,000 loan, isn't for equipment. some other type of good, let's say for inventory,
Okay,
can you go back and amend that financing statement and your date of priority is still January first?
no. You can't amend it to add collateral to have a retroactive effect.
So there you go.
You can amend, but you can't have the retroactive, you can't add, the priority date cannot extend to collateral that wasn't covered, that wasn't perfected at the time of the original filing. Does that make sense? Why? It's a notice system. So if your financing statement doesn't say, I cover inventory, and then someone lends secured by inventory, they relied on what was on notice at the time of the filed financing statement. So you would need a new financing statement, get a new priority. So it's essentially a new form of perfection. Everybody good? I see a lot of worried looks on everybody's faces. We good?
Sure.
Let's say we're good, right? Deep breath in, deep breath out. Right? Okay. We have more problems to go through, but I want to make sure we understand this. This is important. The date of filing your financing statement will be your date of priority for all collateral described in that financing statement, so long as the security interest at some point in the future covers it. Yes?
I'm sorry, I know you were going. If in the beginning of our discussions, I'm lending to you, and I say, hey, I'm gonna take, an interest in all of everything you own.
Okay. You
And
can't
so-
do that.
I know, but within the limits, I describe everything.
Oh, I see. You do a proper description.
Correct.
Good. Yes.
And so I've got future advance clause and additional collateral in the financing statement, and we.
No. Where does that clause go?
That goes in the, agreement, but I'm saying it's intended, like it's not that I'm trying to sneak in this thing on you, but then later, per the agreement, we restrict that down to a specific collateral type. So it's like I had a valid financing statement when I first put it in, and then later the agreement restricted all that. Do I have to be careful as like a borrower that I task them to go back and restrict their financing statement or amend that?
Okay, so now we haven't studied this yet in great detail, but is there an obligation for the secured party to release a financing statement for collateral that you have no longer granted security interest in?
Yes.
Yes.
But do I have to notify them in writing to do so?
Yeah, there's a whole procedure. They're supposed to let it go. If they don't, there's damages and all that kind of stuff. But if let's say you have a security agreement that covers inventory and then you pay that loan off, but the financing statement says inventory and equipment. No longer you have any inventory covered by any security interest, right? That deal's gone.
Okay.
The financing statement should be released at that point. Maybe it's only partially released. Maybe you still have a loan on equipment, but you don't have a loan on inventory anymore. There is an obligation for the secured party to release it. But if you don't ask, and then they lend you a new amount of money, then it's perfected again, and that's your priority date is the date of filing. So a lot of what will happen is there may be changes in the relationship, but the secured party is not going to release that financing statement unless they have a deal with the debtor that says, we're done. Yeah. All good? The magic of 322A1, or 322, as between two secured parties, all you need is a financing statement filed for the priority date. That's what's so powerful about this. The priority date for the collateral listed in the financing statement, right? It doesn't cover everything. It only covers what's listed. But your priority date is the date of filing, and that's it. Whenever the security interest comes into existence, its priority date is the date of filing. Again, it has to cover the same collateral, right? The security agreement and the financing statement have to overlap. But assuming that you have a security agreement and a financing statement that cover the same collateral, the priority date of the filed financing statement is always your priority date, regardless of when that security interest comes into existence. Yeah, for 5 years, right? And then you have to file a continuation statement.
But you could have a financing statement that covers basically all your security agreements that you make in the future. Cause it could just be like
Yeah.
everything that you own,
Yes.
so that's, okay.
Yes. So if a secured party gets the debtor to agree to file a financing statement that says all collateral, first of all, is that legal? Yes, financing statement can say all collateral. What does that mean for the debtor? It means whenever that secured party lends money that is secured by security interest in any collateral, the priority date for all of it is always the date of filing of the financing statement. First to file or perfect. Okay, the next problem has us look at other methods of perfection. So in goods, what's another method of perfection?
Possession.
So let's talk about problem 69.
All right.
And I think it's a stamp collection, right?
Yes, sir. Valuable stamp collection. Philip Filati, PP, well, I'll just call him P, pledged his valuable stamp collection to the Collectors National Bank, CMB, in return for a loan. So that's value right there. And then he gave CMB an oral security interest in collateral, which I feel like that's right. And then, but no financing statement was filed or an agreement to. So at this point, we don't have perfection, but then the bank put the stamp collection in its vault, and by 9313, a secured party may perfect a security interest in goods by taking possession of the collateral. That's 3 and 3A. So I feel like CMB is perfected at that point. Filati later borrowed money from his father, Filbert, and gave him a signed security agreement in the same stamp collection. The father filed the financing statement in the proper place. Looks like he's perfected now. Answer these questions. Who has priority, CMB and the father? Oh, between CMB and the father. So I said CMB has priority because they were perfected earlier.
Okay,
First.
and what's the rule under 9322A1? As between two perfected secured parties, who wins?
First to file,
First to
in
file.
time.
Or,
Or perfect.
and who perfected, did CNB perfect before the father filed?
Yes, sir.
So, first to file or perfect.
The security agreement, does it not have to have the signature of the debtor?
Mhm.
Okay,
That's
Oh.
what-
does the security agreement have to have the signature of the debtor? Can you have an oral security agreement? So we gotta look in here. Can you have an oral security agreement?
You need to have an authentication which requires memorialization.
Yeah, it has to be authenticated, which would be a signature, right? So that would count. That's B3A. What about B3B? 9203B3B.
The collateral is not a certificated security and is in the possession of the secured party under 9313 pursuant to the debtor's security agreement?
Does it say anything about authentication in 9203B3B?
No, sir.
No. Can you have an oral security agreement that's valid and that
Possession?
attaches under 9203B3B? Oral security agreement.
Yeah.
B3A, you need an authenticated record. Under B3B, do you need an authenticated record? Does the statute say authenticated record under B3B?
No.
No. Can you have an oral agreement?
Yes.
Yes. But how is the security interest attached?
Perfect. Possession.
Possession.
Okay.
So they're perfected on the date that they get possession of the stamps. Okay? So 9322A1, two perfected secure parties, who wins? First to file or perfect. Did somebody do either first in this case? Yes, CNB. Okay? Perfect, right? First possession, then the other creditor, so it's CNB and dad, right? Is that right?
Mhm.
Who wins? Okay. It's oral, is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. 9203, that's why I keep coming back to this, you gotta have all of this. If you don't have a security agreement, we got nothing, we're not arguing about anything, okay? The security agreement's oral. That's okay, as long as there's possession. Okay, so part B, what happens in part B?
All right. If Philip goes to the bank and takes the collection home so that he can add new stamps, but then doesn't return it, does the answer change? And I said, yes, the answer changes because the bank has not filed and they become unperfected in that time.
Okay, 9322A1A says the first to file to perfect, so long as there's no period where the security interest has lapsed, or perfection has lapsed, right?
Yes, sir.
Lapse destroys your priority. And the lapse here is the lack of possession. What if they had filed a financing statement beforehand? Would that have saved them?
Yes.
No.
No, dang it.
Why not? They can file as much as they want, but what don't they have? They don't have an authenticated security agreement. You can only get attachment when you don't have possession by having a signed security agreement, an authenticated security agreement. Okay? So when they hand the stamps back and they don't have a security agreement that's written and signed by the debtor, have they lost their security interest? Yes. So the filed financing statement, does it matter?
No.
You're not perfected because you don't have a security interest anymore. An oral security interest is no good if your method of taking attachment is not possession. And we're talking about goods. Okay?
And then, so we continue on B. They ask, at common law, the pledgee could return the collateral to the pledger for a temporary and limited purpose without losing its perfection. Has this doctrine survived the enactment of the code? C9313D.
Let me simplify this.
Yeah.
Can possession be held by a bailee? Yes.
Okay.
Could the bank designate someone else to hold possession for their benefit?
Yes.
Yeah, we've already seen this, right? As long as the person who's holding it authenticates a record saying I'm holding it for the benefit of the bank, then their possession is okay. Can that be the debtor? Never. So who did they give the stamps back to?
The debtor.
Doesn't work. They lose possession, okay? So a bailee, and then if you look at 9312F, let me make sure I got that one right.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
312F, there is this period of time where you can have temporary, you hand it over and you get it back, but that's only with a bailee, okay? We don't have that here. How about C? If CNB makes Philip sign a security agreement and then turns over the collection to him, but never files a finance statement, who wins?
CNB makes Philip sign a security agreement, then turns it. The father wins because they're not perfected.
Who wins that between an unperfected secured party and a perfected secured party?
Perfected.
9322A2, right? All right, I think is it 2? Yes. You should never guess. You should always look it up. 9322A, a perfected security interest has priority over a conflicting unperfected security interest. The bank becomes unperfected when they hand the stamps back. They now lose. All right, before we move on, I want to make sure everybody's cool with this one, right? So we have two methods of perfection in this problem: filing and perfection. 322A1 is the furthest to file or perfect. So if perfection happens earlier than the filing, then that it works. And that could be possession, right? You can perfect by possession. You also don't need a signed security agreement if you have possession, if it's goods. However, that puts you at risk. You lose possession, you lose your security interest. You also lose your perfection. Cool? All right. Kayla, let's take a look at problem, that was 69, so 70.
Okay, so
I believe I guessed on this one, but the question was, did the bank's security interest in the cattle encompass the credit card obligation as well? So, Howard, went into business to buy cattle, and he took a loan from the bank for $65,000, using the cattle as collateral.
Okay, so the original loan is a loan on the collateral, on the cattle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So then what happens next?
Then he gets a credit card from the same bank and used it to finance a trip to Australia. And so he didn't pay the credit card bill, so now they want to repossess the cattle for the unpaid credit card bill.
And what did the security agreement say about other loans? What did that original security agreement say?
It says, using the cattle as collateral for this and all other obligations now or hereinafter owed to the bank.
Right. Now, is this an advance under the original loan? So is this a future advance from the existing loan? Or is it a new loan?
I feel like it's a new loan.
Right. The original loan is a loan agreement, and then he gets a credit card. So he now has two loans with the company. Does the security agreement cover the second loan?
I said no, but
Okay, and what were you worried about?
because one was a loan and one was like a credit card, which are
Right.
two different things.
Two very different kinds of credit, right?
Yeah.
Is there a doctrine in Article 9 that prevents cross-collateralization?
I don't know.
Did they cite to a section that says this is illegal?
They cited cases.
And what do the cases talk about? In fact, let's look at the Zauchny. If I'm saying that, Inri Zauchny. Did I say that right? Zauchny? How would you pronounce that last name on 171? Zauchny? Is that close? I'm not particularly good with names. I can pronounce a lot of really bad Danish names, right? I had an aunt. Her name was spelled D-A-G-M-A-R. I knew her as Musta Dalma. You know, sometimes names aren't pronounced easily. What does this case say about the right of a bank to ask for cross-collateralization? It says there's no doctrine in the law of Article 9 that prohibits it. In that case, they had a clause just like this one, right, Michaela? That says this security agreement covers any loan we give you now made or hereafter coming into existence. It's not a future advance clause. A future advance clause is when we lend you money under this loan, it's covered by the security agreement. This is saying if we give you a different loan, it's covered by the security agreement. That's called cross-collateralization. Okay. Is that legal?
Yeah.
You said yes? There's no Article 9 idea that prohibits it. And that's what the case talks about. In the case, same language, right? Zauchny? The debtor. It's always the easy way to say it. The debtor signs an agreement that has a cross-collateralization agreement, which means the collateral that you gave us for this existing loan is going to spill over and cover any other loan that we give you. Did the bankruptcy court allow that? Yes. So would it cover this loan?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, there are laws that limit this. There are sometimes in some states consumer protection laws that prohibit cross-collateralization. So there would be law outside of Article 9 that can be pulled in and prohibit cross-collateralization. There are laws that prohibit that, but they're not inherently illegal under Article 9. Yes?
The cross-collateralization, just so I'm clear, can only happen if you have that clause within the agreement itself saying.
The security agreement is a contract, and so the question is, how do we read that contract? If you did not grant a security interest in collateral for a different loan, then it's not covered. So that's exactly right. We read the terms of the security agreement and determine what was granted by the debtor. Good?
So the security agreement did cover the credit card loans.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look at official comment 5 to 9204. Comment 5. Obligations secured. Indeed, the parties are free to agree that a security interest secures any obligation whatsoever, now in existence or maybe coming into existence in the future. Okay? That's the essence of it. Now, when we use the term future advance clause, I'm limiting myself probably just to the example of this loan may have future advances given, but the idea is fairly broad. We could read it to say any loan whenever made. Okay? But we read the contract. What does the contract say? If the contract says the collateral covers this loan, then that's it. That's what it covers. And if you make a new loan, does it get pulled in automatically? No. It's a contract. We go by the terms of the agreement. Now, your sense that it doesn't seem fair, there were courts who actually said that. They used to say that. They changed Article 9 so that that's what this comment is suggesting. They don't like those cases. They think the parties should be free to make whatever agreement they want. So it's a freedom of contract concept. Okay? It feels very unfair for consumer debt. So other law may step in and make it illegal to do this with consumer loans. But that's other law, not Article 9. Okay? And that's what this case said. These are referred to as dragnet clauses. Okay? We good? Problem 71. Kelsey.
I didn't know how to answer this one,
Okay.
so,
What's your best guess? Does this one feel different than what Michaela and I just discussed?
yes,
Why?
because they acquired it after the agreement was made.
So the real question is was there an intent by the debtor to allow the collateral to cover loans made with a different lender? No, that seems too far, right? The dragnet clause, I would agree with you.
Okay.
Because I don't think that's the intent of the parties. If I'm dealing with First National Bank and I say, Dear First National Bank, I grant you a security interest in my equipment for any loan I ever make to you, that you ever give to me, I should say. And then First National Bank merges with Third National Bank. What's that? Sorry, I should have said Fifth National Bank and Third National Bank. What does that become? Fifth Third, right? That's why it's called Fifth Third, I think. They merged. And they were worried that their depositors would be like, but Fifth Bank went away. I was with, who's this third? So they said, well, we'll call it Fifth Third, so our customers are not confused. That doesn't feel like the intent of the parties would cover that. A security agreement is a contract. We unread it according to regular contract interpretation rules, and I think that that's too far. Yeah.
So would the banks just have to keep these separate facilities?
Yeah, there would just be two separate, they just wouldn't be allowed to collect. And understand that that's perfectly fine. Can I sign a security agreement that only covers one piece of collateral for one loan? Yes, I can do that. And when the bank comes back to me and says, hey, we'd like that existing security agreement to cover this new loan, I go, no, I have that power. I don't have to grant a security interest that covers everything. That's a negotiation. Yeah.
So if the first person, so you've got bank one, bank two, bank one could sell to bank three and they would still retain the cost collateralization clause. I mean, it's like.
Yeah, again, we'd have to ask what the intent of the parties are. That's beyond the scope of this class, okay? The problem in here is just one to point out, we're asking what is the intent of the parties. The intent of the parties doesn't seem to be this. But we are okay when they clearly say, dragnet clause, we cover all loans, okay? All right. Purchase money security interests. All right, before we move on, everybody good with the original, the basic rules for the basic competition? Just remember, there's also future advance clauses and after acquired property clauses. What is the after acquired property clause? You need an after acquired property clause for extra collateral to be covered by the security agreement. Do you need an after acquired property clause on a financing statement? No, you do not. After acquired property clause is something that's in the security agreement. That's why it's in section, part 2, right? 9203 is where the security interest comes into existence. That's why it's 9204. It has nothing to do with the financing statement. So purchase money. What's the essence of purchase money? A purchase money security interest is money lent by a lender to allow the debtor to acquire collateral, and the money is actually used to do so. We've already seen this. Purchase money lenders are preferred in our system. We like them. So when we come to priority, right, we're going to have secured party 1 up against secured party 2, and under certain circumstances, we're going to say, if this is a purchase money security interest, we're going to say they have priority. That's what's going to happen here. Under certain kinds of circumstances, a purchase money security interest has priority over all other secured parties and lien creditors too. Okay, so let's talk about problem 72. Problem 72. Kelly?
We sat in the wrong side.
Oh, so you are
Sam.
Sam. Sorry. Okay.
So for problem 72, a company was building an apartment complex and they sent an employee to a furniture store to purchase items on credit. But the policy of the furniture store was to not file financing statements for
Right.
sales. So the first question was why that would possibly be their policy.
And why would that be the policy?
The only thing I could think of was that maybe it just streamlines the process.
It does, under certain kinds of circumstances. What are the kinds of circumstances where you would not need to file a financing statement?
Oh, if it was automatically perfected?
Correct. Is there an automatic perfection that a furniture store would normally rely on?
If it's consumer goods?
And what section of the statute is that? What section tells us that a purchase money security interest in consumer goods is automatically perfected upon attachment?
Is it 923?
No, that's the general. Anybody remember? 9309. You were about to say that, weren't you?
No.
Oh, okay.
932.
You should have said yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
9309. Or 93091. The following security interests are perfected when they attach purchase money security interests in consumer goods. That would be the why they don't file a financing statement, because could you imagine if I think a furniture store is a good example where they sell a lot of fairly expensive pieces of consumer items. If they had to always file every time they sold something on credit, they would be filing a lot of documents. So we eliminated that. They don't have to file. Is this a consumer transaction in the one that's described in this case?
I don't think so, because
Why not?
they're purchasing them for an apartment complex.
And what makes something a consumer good? How do we know if something is consumer goods?
It's for like a personal use rather than for a company.
Yeah, personal, family, household use is the definition of consumer goods under 9102. Okay, great. So it's not a consumer good. What is it?
Would be equipment.
Yeah, I would say it's equipment, right? It's not inventory. Equipment is the catch-all. It's not inventory. They're not selling it. It's not consumer goods. It's not farm products. So therefore, it's equipment. Okay. So if it's not consumer goods, how do you perfect? What are the methods of perfection available to a lender when you're selling a tangible good? Hopefully one jumped out at you. Yeah, financing statement, right? You can file a financing statement. What's the other method? Demetrius, what's the method that you use?
I'm sorry. Possession.
Yeah, there you go, right, exactly,
There you
9313, right? So if it's goods, you can either perfect by filing or possession. Does the secured party keep possession in this case?
Yes, maybe so.
No.
Oh, it was for the after acquired property, is part of the question.
Well, so the question here is they're selling stuff to them, right? They send them down to the store and they say, they signed a security agreement on behalf of the of Paramount Homes in favor of the seller. The agreement was signed on June 8th. The goods were delivered the same day. So does the secured party have possession?
Yes.
No.
No.
They delivered them, right? So no. Yeah. Okay. Are they perfected?
No.
No. No. There's no.
Well, what section of the statute should we be looking at? In most of these cases, we have answers that are absolute, right? Most of the, how would you perfect in a purchase money security interest in goods that you've delivered to the secured party? You've already told me you file a financing statement, right? Because they don't have possessions, it has to be a financing statement. Is there special kind of priority for a secured party that is a purchase money secured party? What section of the statute should we look for to determine priority? 324, and which part of 324? Okay, why did you pick B?
Inventory.
Is this inventory, so whose hands do we care about? You already told me it's not inventory, you told me it's something else. It's equipment, right? So which part of 9324? 9324B does cover inventory, and we haven't done inventory yet. That's a special set of rules. Under 9324, what's the general rule with respect to priority in purchase money security interest in non-consumer goods?
Perfected when the debtor receives possession of the collateral within 20 days.
The grace period, right? Secured party, purchase money security interest, right? So we have existing security interest, but it's not purchase money, it's a regular one. Then, secured party lends money to the debtor to acquire the collateral, and they get a security interest in it. They have a grace period. How long does the grace period last for?
20 days.
20 days from when?
Delivery.
Possession.
Well, what does it say? Is it delivery or possession?
When debtor receives possession.
Oh,
within
crap.
20 days.
Is it delivery or possession?
It's possession. It's 20 days thereafter.
Okay. Did they file within the 20 days, according to the problem?
There's no dates.
Did they file at all? No. So on what day does, who's the other bank? Sullivan National Bank. So on what day does secured party one, in this case it's Sullivan National Bank, oh, mistake. On what day does Sullivan National Bank have priority? When do they receive possession?
June
June what? June 8th, so when do they have to, when does their priority have, when do they have priority?
20.
More than 21 days, 20 days after possession, so that would be,
28.
29.
well, the 28th would be
Nine.
included in here, wouldn't it? Sorry, it was 6/8 was the date of delivery of possession, right?
Yeah. Well, it was the same day.
Yeah, it was the 8th that they sold it and they got delivery the same day, right? Yeah. Now, what is the priority battle rule as between a perfected secured party and an unperfected secured party? Perfected always wins. Who's perfected on June 29th? Sullivan is Sophie's perfected. Is that the name of the store? Is it Sophie's? Is that right? Are they perfected on June 29th? They've lost their temporary perfection. They had a grace period. They could have filed. They didn't. On the 29th, they've lost their perfection. Perfected secured party always beats an unperfected secured party. So as long as they file within this 20-day period, right, if they file in here, their priority trumps this earlier date. It's a super priority. That doesn't make you're upset about this?
I just don't get it. I'll get there.
What's the normal priority rule if between a secured party and an unperfected, perfected secured party and an unperfected secured party? Who wins? Okay, so could Sophie's become a perfected secured party? Yes, they had a grace period. Now, if the normal rule as between two perfected secured parties is the first to file or perfect, right? That's 322A1. But 324A says this person wins even though they would lose under 9322. They win under 324A because they're a purchase money secured party. So super priority, they jump ahead. So Sophie's could win as long as they file within the 20 days. When they don't file, what happens? They become unperfected. They have no method of perfection. They don't have possession and they don't have a financing statement. So they're unperfected. So that means we're no longer in 9324, right? 9324 doesn't apply. So what's the priority battle? 9322A2. Perfected versus unperfected. Could they file later?
After the 20 days?
Yeah, they blow the 20 days and somebody in their finance office goes, we got to file. So they file. Can they do that?
I think they can, but they would lose priority.
Absolutely right. That's exactly what would happen. If they don't take advantage of the 20-day grace period, they can still file. They just lose to Sullivan National Bank. Okay? They're no longer a purchase money secured party. They're just a regular secured party. Now, let me say that differently. They're a purchase money secured party without priority. That's a better way to put it. Everybody good? Clear as mud. It's just a game, right? You just got to find the right section. And once you've found the right section, you're golden. Now, the key is understanding the definitions. Who is a purchase money secured party? Who lends secured purchase money? How does that come into existence? Okay. So, Kelly,
Yes.
who's sitting in the wrong seat.
Yes. It's my fault. I sit here in family law. I'm
Well,
very confused.
is there really such a thing as the wrong seat?
Yes.
I mean, that's just,
Apparently.
that's so metaphysical, right? So 72. Oh, well, before we get there, let me just summarize the case. The Wild West world. This case is what we just discussed, right? They did not file within the 20 days. If you look at the date, they contract to install the ride in 2005. They say they're going to install it in 2006, but they don't actually install it until March of 2007, right? Isn't that the date? March 5th. There's an existing bank out there that got its priority as of March 24th, 2006. And Larson loses their preferred priority because they don't file until June 8th. They are a perfected secured party, but they don't have purchase money priority, right? They don't have PMSI priority. So the problem we just did, that's this case. So if you want to read a case that describes what we just talked about, that's this case, the Wild West World LLC. So now we're moving on to problem 73.
Okay, so an electronics store has a floating lien over its inventory and equipment to Last National Bank, which is perfected.
No, I think we're talking about, sorry, this is the dog, Fang, right?
Yeah, this is the
Sorry.
dog. So they want a guard dog for their
Mhm.
store for some reason, and they contract to get one. And so eventually they quit paying their creditors, and then the bank seized the store's assets, including the dog. So the
Yes.
person they bought the dog from on a payment plan is upset. Okay, so what I said was that it's, on the first part, it's not limited to just the equity,
There's
If-
nothing in the statute that says that, yes.
and
Right.
I got that from the case.
Yeah.
So I didn't totally understand it, but that's what
There was stupid case law that misread the law.
okay.
And they used to say, well, but you only get it for the amount of value above the debt. That's what equity is, right? So equity is the amount of value that you have in an asset that exceeds the debt portion. Article 9 doesn't say that. So now, does she have a good argument, though, that maybe she should still get purchase money security preferred status?
It would have, and for that I had that she would have to have it perfected within the, by filing within the statutory period, and she did not.
Is it consumer goods?
No.
It's FANG consumer goods.
I would say he was equipment in this
Yeah.
case.
Right, he's equipped.
Yeah.
So it's the same case, right? You got to file within the 20 days or you lose your priority. Right, so this idea of equity, not an Article 9 idea, stupid case law idea. And we're not following stupid case law in this class. We're following the statute. All right, 74.
Okay, so in this one,
And Catherine, right?
yes. Hart leased a backhoe to Bean for 6 months with the option to purchase at any time. And Bean's equipment was already subject to a lien in favor of O&B. And 3 months after the delivery of the backhoe, he bought it. And the next day, Hart filed their financing statement claiming its purchase money security interest. So the question is, who wins in the priority battle between Hart and O&B? And I had that Hart wins because they filed their security interest in a timely manner, because it was the day after he bought it.
So he had possession before that, though. But they point you to a section of Article 2, and what does it tell us?
I had that comment 3 of section 9(3)24 said that within the 20 days of possession means that possession as a debtor, and he wasn't a debtor until he purchased it.
And this is confirmed by looking at 326 subpart 2. If goods are sold on acceptance, so here he didn't own it, right? He was leasing it until the day he decided to keep it. And then when he decided to keep it, he had possession. And that starts the 20-day clock. As a debtor, possession as a debtor, not as a potential buyer. That what you got away from this? Does everybody understand that? If things are sold on, and it's called on approval, if it's held on approval, it's not actually, that's not possession for purposes of 9324A. That's what this problem is getting at. The rule is very simple. The secured party has 20 days to file under 9324A. The 20 days starts running on the date of possession, and the question is, what's possession? That's what this question is about. There's a way to buy stuff without actually buying it if it's held on approval. So you don't actually have possession until you say, yeah, I'm going to buy it. That's all this question is telling us. Possession starts when you've decided for it to be your goods.
So you kind of, I'm sorry,
No, you go ahead.
kind of just test driving it for however long, and then
Yeah, Article 2 allows you to do that. You don't have to commit to buying something when you walk into the store. You can have an arrangement with the seller where you say, like, if you're buying a car, right? If you test drive the car, have you agreed to buy the car? So it's not your goods yet. That's all this problem is. It's not until it is actually your goods that the possession date starts for the secured party, right? Okay, 75. Kelly.
So in this one, Danica is trading in her SUV for a hybrid, and at the time she still owes $15,000 on the SUV, but it's only valued at $10,000 now. And so to finance it, she borrowed $25,000, which was secured by the new car and from ONB. And the $2,000 from that loan was to pay the price of the new vehicle, and the $5,000 was to pay off the negative equity of the vehicle. And so asked if they would purchase money security interest in the full amount.
And
And basically I said yes, because it says that 9103 covers the negative equity on the trade-in vehicle as part of the purchase money security.
And if you read 9103A2, it says purchase money obligation means an obligation of the obligor incurred as all or part of the price of the collateral or for value given. So the erasing of the existing debt is that value. Yes, that's all this question is asking. You're only a purchase money secured party up to the amount of the value that you extended to the debtor to acquire the collateral, right? So if you lend them $20,000, but they only use $10,000 to buy the product, then you're only a purchase money lender up to $10,000. Your priority only covers that $10,000. The other 10 is regular priority. But what counts as value? So in a car loan, who here, well, I'm not asking you to tell me this. People, I assume, are aware that when you take your existing car in to trade in, sometimes you haven't paid the car off. And so the dealer says to you, no problem, we'll wrap your old loan into the new loan. And this problem is talking about how the wrapping in of the old loan into the new loan is value for purposes of purchase money credit. So that's all this stands for. So you can add the existing debt as part of the amount of money that's covered as purchase money security. Questions about that? These are the more esoteric questions. It's called negative equity. Okay. That's the Peasley case. So if you want to read a case that talks about negative equity and the fact that it's part of value, that's what the Peasley case is about. Okay, problem 76. All right, I see we have a couple of minutes here. Greg, yeah, let's do 76.
Okay, so the Merchants Credit Association had a perfected security interest in the inventory of Carol's Clothing Store. It went to a fashion show in New York and contracted to buy 4,000 worth of new clothes for resale to Madame Belinda's Fashion. Took a purchase money security interest in the clothes on December 10th, the date of sale. She wrote the Merchants Credit Association December 11th and informed the credit manager of the sale. He protested but did nothing. She then filed on December 11th, and the goods were delivered to the store on December 12th.
Okay. Which section of the statute are we looking at?
9324B.
Okay, and this is the special rule for inventory financing. Inventory financing companies have special protection under Article 9. It's harder to get purchase money priority against an inventory lender. That's what the rule sets up. So MCA normally has priority over everybody, including purchase money secured parties, unless they do everything that is right by the statute. So what do you have to do?
Has to be, well, it's perfected when the debtor receives possession.
Okay, was that the case here?
Yes.
Okay, so the date that they were a purchase money secured party, the debtor had possession on the 10th. Okay, what did they do on the 11th?
They sent a notification.
Okay, and then what happened?
They didn't, the Merchants Credit Association didn't do anything about it.
And then something happens on the 12th, I think, right?
Yeah, the goods were delivered to the store on the 12th.
All right, so, and I shouldn't say purchase money. Yeah, actually, that's right? The debtor has an interest, so that's covered. Sent notification, when did they file?
They didn't file.
You can't use 9324B if you don't file. You have to file. When do you have to file? You have to be a perfected secured party before when?
Before,
Take a look at 324B. What does a purchase money secured party in inventory have to do before the debtor receives what?
possession.
It says delivery, doesn't it? It's delivery. It's weird. Why is one possession, one's delivery? Here it's delivery. Before delivery happens, what do you have to be? Are they perfected beforehand? Right? They got their purchase money security interest on the 10th, right? This is the date that the security agreement was signed. This is the date that they filed. Was that before delivery?
Yes.
And did they send notice?
Yes.
They did everything that the statute requires. They have super priority.
Belinda.
Sorry?
What? Belinda, right?
Sorry, what's the question?
Madame's Belinda.
Yeah, yeah, Belinda wins. Okay, there's two questions here. What does C say? What's the part of C?
You don't want to do B?
Well, what's B? I think we covered it.
Well, it says if the notice wasn't received until December 13th.
Oh, that's right.
And that does change it.
What's the problem with received?
It says the holder of the conflicting security interest receives a notification within 5 years before the debtor receives possession of the inventory.
Right, but what is, and this is the weird part about 324. 324B says the purchase money secured party sends an authenticated notification to the holder of the collecting security interest. They sent it when they were supposed to, right? But when did the party receive it?
The 13th.
And does that cause a problem?
Yes,
And what's the problem?
because they didn't receive it before possession,
And so what happens?
so it's not perfected.
Well, is it perfected?
It doesn't have priority.
Doesn't have the priority. This is weird. It says you have to send it before, but they also have to receive it before. So what would you do? How would you make sure, if you're Belinda's, what do you need to do? Not deliver until you have some confirmation of receipt. So send it by some kind of mail system where you get a receipt back. So FedEx, right? With FedEx, you get confirmation of delivery of the notice. And then question C.
So they say if notice was received December 11th, and it's sufficient to permit Belinda to keep selling goods to Harold, or is it sufficient to permit Belinda to keep selling goods to Harold for an indefinite period thereafter, or only for this one transaction? And I said it has to be 5 years, right?
Yeah, you got 5 years. Yeah. Okay. Everybody good with this part? So, on Friday, we're going to talk about the buyer's part. Okay? We'll do a little bit this one section. Now, for next week, I'm telling you today, but for next week, I'm going to change the reading assignment. There's a part that I'm going to cut out that I originally had. So for next week, don't do all the reading that I assigned. There's going to be a couple pages less. I think about 10 pages less. Are you upset about there being less pages?
Absolutely not.
There you go. So this is a good notice. Sorry that I went over. I apologize. I'm trying to get through all of this today so that we can get through buyers next time.
Matt, this